all over the place.
I thought it was that, like, I thought that's what it was, where they're going with it anyways, and it turns out, like, the Autobots are just, like, fleeing for war crimes that they committed.
Wait, what?
And that's why they're hiding out on Earth, and they're just, like, using Earth as, like, yeah.
They're safe house guys.
I don't know how accurate this is.
I was on my way over here.
I messaged him to kill you, bro. Just running galaxies in my portfolio. And made it get really dark. Okay, I didn't think Transformers was dark like that.
I don't know.
Like it's the it must have to do with the API because that's what got
Oh, it's like all this shit around it.
Really? Right, that's what I thought because when I was having some of our reading that's what
Oh, so he did. Oh, yeah.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started with today's class. How's everyone doing with Node.js? Good? Still good? When I left on Thursday, I was kind of surprised that so many people were like, oh, I get it.
It was alright.
Yeah.
I feel like we really haven't done anything complicated with it per se.
Well, if you once you did Saturday's class, that's pretty much it. I mean, we'll see some things today, but it's nothing like some like new concept. It's just using somebody else's Node.js libraries now. But the concept, if you guys got it, it's working. It's impressive. Yeah.
Stuff happens
pretty
when you
fun.
make things. No.
Yeah.
You note it. It's like.
All right. So let's do this. We'll start with some couple of quick refresher exercises. One of them is from Saturday. One of them is kind of new, but it still does utilizes all the Node stuff. So I'll do the first two exercises. You guys can follow along or watch it. It's up to you guys. But the first exercise is number 20 if you guys are following on GitLab. Otherwise, you can just watch. I'm trying to go ahead and quickly solve this one. Okay. So the first exercise is pretty straightforward. We have to create a Node.js exercise which takes in a series of numbers from the user and returns the numbers sorted in ascending order. Okay, so looks like our input is going to be that's how we begin Node, and then the file name, let's say sort, that's what I'm going to call my file, so sort numbers.js. Okay, and then I'm going to have a list of numbers, so it could be like 10, 5, 3, 20, let's see, 11, 2, 1, something like this. Okay, so this is what I'm going to looks like. Let's read it again. Command line application that takes in a series of numbers. Okay, this is user input, and then it should return me. It should output the sorted list of these numbers. Okay. Let me change this first. All right, everybody clear on the exercise? Okay, so let's go ahead and solve this one. Okay, let's go ahead. I'm going to create a JS file. I'm going to call it sort.js. Okay, so this is my readme with the instructions, and this is my sort file. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is I need to capture the input from the user, and for that I need process.argv. Okay, let's put that in an array var. node arguments, let's say user input, user node args, because I'm going to get more than just the user for now. Okay, so what am I doing? I'm just getting whatever the user types in, everything, including the first two indexes. Okay, I'm going to create an array, number array, empty for now, and then I'm going to come back and fill this array. Okay, so now when I'm using process.argv, I'm going to get all the numbers. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is all these numbers are going to come in what data type? String, right? So what do I need to do? I need to convert these into numbers before I can do anything. Okay, what was that? Parse int. All right, so let's go ahead and do parse int. First of all, let's go ahead and loop through this array. So for var I is equal to 0, I less than node args dot length, and then I plus plus. Okay, so, simple for loop, and then I'm going to go ahead and parse these. So I need to do parse int. What am I parsing? I'm parsing this array node args and then I. Okay, once I have these parsed, I need to push it to this array, right? Let's still call it unsorted number array. Okay, and I can use the push method. So unsorted number array dot push, and then parse this, and then I'm going to push this to my newly created array. Okay, again, what am I doing? I'm just capturing the user input, okay, and then I'm converting them into integers because these are going to be numbers. I know the input is always going to be a string, so I cannot sort them unless I convert them into numbers. Okay, so I convert these into number and save it to a new array that I declared over there so that I can sort this array. Okay, all right, now there's a bug in this code. Anybody can point this out? I'm grabbing the first two. Excellent, man. You see what I mean? I'm running my for loop, which starts from 0 index and goes through node args, right? Right. It should start at 2. Why? Because 0 and 1 are kind of reserved, and they would have the path of the node installation and the file where this file exists. Okay, so I need to ignore the first two. Excellent. You guys do remember something. Oh. Oh.
Ouch.
All right. All right. So so now I have sorted. I have this array. Now what do I need to do? I just need to sort this array. And that was a JavaScript method, I suppose. Let's say sort numbers JavaScript. Okay. You guys have seen this method. We have used it. Let's look at the syntax. So I need to call array.sort and then pass in a callback function. For ascending, it should be like this. Okay. So this is sorted. Let's go ahead and log this so that we can see this is. Actually, you know what? I'm going to change this back to numbers because I'm going to sort the same one. So the name doesn't really make sense after that. Okay. So at this point, the array is unsorted. Okay. I haven't sorted anything. So let's go ahead and sort this. And I'm going to call my numbers array dot sort method. And then what do I need to do? I need to pass in a callback function. So let's go ahead and create a anonymous function. I need to pass in two parameters a and b, and then I need to do a return a minus b for ascending. Okay, so I will do return a minus b, and this should now sort my array. So let's go ahead and console log numbers array this time. At this point the array is sorted in ascending order. Okay, let's verify, looks good. Let's go ahead and run this. I'm going to open my terminal. This is okay. Let's make sure my file is here, node, and then sort, and let's give it some numbers: 10, 5, 11, 19, 1, 3. Okay, so this is my unsorted array, and after sort, this is what the output is. All right, any questions? Yes.
I'm just getting empty arrays.
You are getting empty array.
Yeah.
So what are your steps? What did you do?
Thought I did the same thing as
Apparently not. So did you declare your numbered array? Did you parse in your arguments? You are parsing the node args.
Oh, okay, yeah, so I had
What is that?
I just had parse int node args I above numbers array dot push parse. Like I had
Oh, you're not pushing
extra-
anything. Well, you can have a variable on the top and still you're pushing it correctly.
Well, let's see if this works.
So what I'm supposing you have var number is equal to parse int, something like this.
Yeah, I'm still getting empty arrays.
So you have this and you are pushing this number. That should also work. Is that what you have?
I don't have that anymore. Like I got rid of that line.
Okay, and you are pushing this thing, right? It's a node args array.
Mm-hmm.
And how are you running this code?
In the terminal,
Yeah, what's the whole thing?
I just go to the
Node sort
Node.
and you're giving numbers?
Oh, I didn't give numbers to that.
Exactly. So it doesn't have anything to sort. All right, any other questions? Okay, so it's kind of a refresher. Sort, none of these things are new. It's just to show you how to run node again. That's all it is. And the important part is this process arg. All right, everybody good? All right, yes, question, good. All right, let's look at the second one, the Axios library that you used, and then we will start our new lecture. So let's go ahead and need to create a new file, call it axios.js. Okay, and this is exactly from what you guys did in the class on Saturday. Okay, so but this time the only thing difference would be I'm going to use the require keyword. I'm going to get few things from our OMDB file, OMDB API. Okay, so now what is important over here in Axios is you guys remember from JavaScript code we use jQuery.ajax, right, to get the API. You make the API call and get the data back. There's a what do you call? There is a like a JavaScript method also, XML HTTP request. That's the vanilla way to do it in JavaScript, but the method to call an API from your JavaScript code from the front end exists. Okay, now we also need to know how to call our or call different APIs from our node code. All right, because we will be dealing with that also. So some of the information, like for example, the codes issue you guys were facing, if you do the same code in your Node.js file, you won't have that issues, right? You will see when you come across that. So there are times when we use Node.js to make that API call, get that data, and then tell our front end to call our Node.js application instead of the APIs. All right, we'll get to that. All right, but again, the point over here is that we have the capability to call APIs from our backend code, which means from our Node.js code. Okay, for that there's a really good library called Axios that you guys saw. Let's go ahead and Google Axios Node.js. And the good part is that a lot of these libraries have a good documentation on NPM. I'll go through NPM once I complete this example. So they actually tell you exactly how you can use their library. Okay, so I'm going to do this, and then apparently I need to use the get method. We'll start with the get one. All right, so the first thing I need to do is var Axios is equal to require, and that's how you start with other third-party libraries that you want to use in your Node.js code. How are we doing in our JavaScript? If you wanted to use some third-party library in JavaScript code, how do we include those? Add a script tag. Excellent. Okay, in this case we need to add the require code if you want to use somebody else's library. Okay, after that it is axios.get, then they have a .then function and a catch. Okay, so let's go ahead and type this out. Axios dot get, and then they have .then, and then they have .catch. Okay, so .catch basically means if there's any error, it should come inside your catch function. Okay, I'm going to put these in next line so that it is kind of easier to see. Format this. Okay, now I'm going to fill these ones. Let's start with the last one because that's the easiest one. So all I have to do is I have to put in a callback function. Okay, and that will have a parameter passed in that should have the error if there's any error that happens. So I'm going to just simply log that error so that we can see what happened if we're not able to get the data. Okay. The next easiest one is the then function. Then function will have the data if everything is good. So same thing, a callback function with one parameter. I'm going to call it response, and then we can simply log that response. And the response is going to be in what format? In JSON format. Excellent. Okay. All right, now we come to the get method. In get method, you need to just pass in the URL. So let's look at some OMDB. I think I might have some in my history. Oh, okay. Let's try this one. This is easy. So this one, I have my key and everything. This should give me this JSON bag. Okay. So simply put this in, and that should do it. So I did the get method, then function, console log the response, and it should be good. So let's go ahead and run this. Okay. Let me go back to my this. Okay. So node Axios. I'm not using process argv, so I don't need any parameters. Okay. It should simply go to this API call and get a JSON bag and should print out that JSON or an error. All right. Oops. So it threw me an error. Cannot find module Axios.
You have to install it.
I have to install it. Excellent. So I haven't installed it. So let's go ahead and do a npm install Axios. All right, let's try to run this now. Node axios.js, and there it is. Okay, so I'm getting all the data back. You could do response.data, and this should give me just this one. So let's quickly fix this. Response.data, and then run this again. And there it is, all my JSON and everything. All right, excellent. Questions? Everybody understood what I just did? Getting all the data, yes.
It is like how you put it together when you just look and see, okay, where's the API calling you need to get, then there's a catch, and you kind of work backward. Yeah, it kind of simplifies it.
Okay.
But yeah, the ones that, at least example, didn't have all that.
Okay. So for now it makes sense what just happened. So we did the first example, we created a simple Node.js application without using any library. The second one, I showed you using a library called Axios that has get, post, and put, and whatever. But the important point is this is how you use third-party APIs. Two parts to it. You need the require keyword, and then you need to install it. Okay. So this kind of ties in what is NPM. NPM. This is the most important part when we are dealing with Node.js, because you'll be using NPM day in and day out when you are working with Node.js. Okay, so NPM stands for Node Package Manager. Node Package Manager. That's the more important point. What? Oh, okay. All right. So NPM stands for Node Package Manager. So what it tells you is it's a package manager built for Node.js. Okay. This is a third party. Somebody else created it when Node was becoming popular. A different organization handles it and everything. So there's a whole website. If you go to npmjs.com, what npm does is it has all the packages that can be used in your Node application. It has all your third-party libraries. Basically, it's a hub. It's a repository of libraries that somebody else has written, and they have hosted on npm. Okay, you can find any Node.js package that you're looking for on npm. Now, NPM is not the only organization in town. There are a few more different ones, but NPM is the more popular one. In your career, you will come across a couple of more. One is called Yarn. There's different ones. You guys remember any? So there are like a few more, but NPM is the more popular ones, and you'll be using this a lot. Okay. Again, what does NPM do? It hosts third-party packages that you can use in your code. For example, we just saw Axios. All right, somebody wrote Axios Node package and hosted on npm. Why? So that you guys can go ahead and use it. And how do you use it? You have to install that package, and then they have the README file, and then you can start using it. All right. So, for example, if I search Axios, this one, so a lot of these packages have really good readmes. A lot of them do not also have. So you'll have to find out, especially when you're doing your project, especially this time in Node.js, you have requirements to work with some NPM packages. So you'll go ahead and try to search what kind of packages exist that you can use in your code. For example, let's say, since you guys have your homework on Spotify, Spotify has quite a few Node.js packages. And of course, these guys have really good documentation. So they explain how you can access your Spotify APIs from your Node.js code. All right, you guys used it from your JavaScript code from the front end. Spotify also has capability that you can access it from your Node.js code. All right, so any library that you want to access from your Node.js code, you will come to npm and try to figure out what that library is that you're looking for. Couple of libraries that we will see today is there's one called weather.js. All right, this is npm module that is used for getting weather information for any place. Simple. All right, we'll do some coding and we'll see how it works. Okay, but Node Package Manager is the one that is responsible for installing, downloading, and updating your packages that exist somewhere else. Yes?
That seems like a dumb question, but a CDN, isn't that kind of similar?
Right, CDN is kind of similar, but why we cannot use CDN? CDN gives you a URL.
Right.
You use CDN in your JavaScript code. This is the CDN version that you use in your Node.js. Because you cannot use a script tag, you cannot use link tag in a Node.js code, right? Because it's not front end, right? It has nothing to do with JavaScript. It looks JavaScript, but it's not exactly JavaScript. So for Node.js, what we need something else, and that something else is npm. All right. There are different programming languages. For example, Java has something called Maven. C# has Nougat or something. Nougat, right? So every programming language has their CDN. Okay. For Node.js, one of them is npm. Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. There's a very interesting that I like about npm. So npm stands for Node Package Manager, but if you go to the site, you will see on the top, these are what people call, and every time you refresh the page, a new thing comes up, and these are people are submitting their submissions, and they kind of change over here. Wow, this is new polished menu, npm. Still there. So that's kind of funny part. Like people submit what npm means to them, and it kind of shows up over here. Okay. All right. Now these are, of course, there's the enterprise version. Also, a lot of companies use npm. They kind of host it privately, just like GitHub or GitLab. You know, there's always a private version. So most probably when you are working somewhere, usually they have their own private npm hosted. What is the reason? The reason is security, right? NPM is publicly open, right? You will, if you were in the previous cohort, there were some news that there were some popular packages that were actually tracking more information. I mean, it's already being tracked every year, but there were some more popular packages that they had some libraries in there that were actually tracking some information. They found out. So this kind of public, so you just have to be careful what you're using. Okay. So that's why I was saying that most of the companies, they use npm, but they have their own private npm. They kind of pay for it. They have hosted their own npm. They will host their own personal packages over there, or the packages that have gone through the security team and is okay to use in your corporate environment. Okay. All right. Questions? Everybody kind of get the idea what npm is? Okay. Now, how do we install packages? The command is npm install and the package name. Look at the README, right, and see what they're saying. So the first thing, if the documentation is good, the first line they will tell you how to install their package. A short form of npm install that you will see is npm I, simple I, and then the package name. Both of these things are same. All right, it's just a shortcut. So npm space I, package name, or npm install and then package name. All right. Everybody good? Okay. So you guys don't seem confused, so I'm going to confuse you guys a little bit.
I dare you, coward.
All right. So there are two types of installation now. Local versus global install.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you will see npm. Sometimes you will see letter -g added to your npm install. This stands for global. So what you are telling is install this package globally. Now, what's the criteria? Why would I install local versus why would I install global? Okay. Now, let me go ahead and we did this Axios example and we solved it. If you look at this one package, you see a node underscore module folder. It was created in my folder, right? This installation exists just in this realm. If I try to access this code outside this folder, this Axios folder, which doesn't have this node modules, it will give me the same error, right? So this means this was local install. If you do npm I or npm install package name, this is going to be a local install. If you want it global, then you need to mention -g. So this means by default, everything is going to be installed locally. Now, a good rule of thumb is if in your code you need the keyword require, just like you see on the screen. If your code is going to have require in the package name, always do a local install. Okay? Again, if your package, if in your code you are going to use the require keyword to access some npm package, make sure you install it locally. This means you're just going to do npm install and package name. Okay? If you want to use a package in your terminal, you want to access it through your terminal. What do I mean by this? I'm saying node Axios something. So this node thing, I'm accessing from my terminal. If there are some packages that you can put in your command line to do something. We'll look at one of those towards the end of the class. If that is the case, that you need to access your package like this instead of the required keyword, then it has to be installed globally. And the reason it has to be installed globally because on your computers, this thing has to go in your path variable and all that stuff for your terminal to actually recognize this command. Okay, again, node, this thing, this doesn't exist unless you install Node.js, right? If you don't have Node.js installed on your computer, you type in node something, it's going to give you bash error command not found or something like that, right? But when you install Node.js, it goes into your path variables on your computer, adds all that stuff, and what it does is it lets you use your use the node command on your terminal. All right. Same with npm. If there is a package that you need to access in your terminal versus require, then you need to install it globally. Okay. For now, the important part is you understand local, and we'll see an example, and global will be clarified in a bit. Yes.
So as we're running all of our backend Node.js files in our bash or our terminal, we need it local.
We need it local, yes. Again, the rule of thumb is if your code is using require and the package name, it has to be local. That's the best rule of thumb.
Whether or not you're actually testing it, if it's just tied to another application, as long as it has require, it needs to be local.
Yes, that's a good rule of thumb, right? If you're using require, then make sure you install locally because this package should only exist in this folder. You don't really need to install it globally so that everybody can access it. We don't want that. And the reason is when you deploy this application on your server, right, that is your server only requires some of these things, right? You don't want to load it with different things. So that's why it has to be installed locally, not globally, as a good rule of thumb. Again, if you're using the required keyword, just install locally. All right. If you want to use it on your terminal, like some command, then it has to be installed globally, and we'll see at the end of the class one of the global libraries. All right. Yes.
So when you install it globally, the syntax is it npm install package name -g?
Yes. I think it's npm install -g and the package name. Where -g, the placement doesn't really matter. It will still catch it. But do npm install space -g and then the package name.
Good.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Still not confused? Mm. All right, that's good. Huh?
So try.
Okay. All right. So let's see.
So you could do npm I -g and package name?
Yes. Yeah. we'll look at one example towards the end. All right, so let's go ahead and look at our weather API. Let's try this one. Okay, so this one says weather is a module for obtaining weather information. This is how you install the npm package, and this is how you use it. So start with the var keyword, then I do find, and then in the search I give the city name or the place name, and then the system is it centigrade or Fahrenheit if that's the result I want, and then I have to do json.stringify method over here. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and create.
It seems like Node tells you way more.
Right, it's not Node telling you, it's the person who created this telling you. So give the credit where it is due. Node is not telling you anything.
Node doesn't tell you anything.
No.
Node doesn't care about your feelings.
Nope.
You write a node file and it becomes a module. You grow your own module.
Right. So it's as good as the documentation you provide.
It's pretty straightforward.
All right. So I'm going to create one called weather.js folder, and then we'll see how to call that file. So I'm going to call this weather.js. Remove this. Okay. So let's go over here. The first thing I need to do is I need to declare a variable with weather.js. So let's do that. Weather is equal to require. So since it is a require, I need to install it locally, right? So weather.js. Okay, as exactly like the documentation suggested. The next thing is just one method, weather.find, and then looks like it's taking a object, right? I see the curly braces, so I'm like, okay, this is going to be an object with two properties, search and degree type. And then the second parameter is the callback function. And looks like in my callback function, I'm going to have an error, if there's any error, and the result. Okay? So let's go ahead and code this out, weather.find. Okay? And then two parameters, object and my callback function. So let's go ahead and object and my callback function. Okay, and this callback function takes in two parameters, error and result. So I'm going to say error and result. Okay, let's go ahead and complete this. So if there is an error, console log error. Oops. Okay. So if error, then let's go ahead and console log that error. All right. Okay. Let's go back here. Otherwise, let's go ahead and do this thing. So it says console log json.stringify method. Okay, we have seen this before, but it has three parameters. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. What is json.stringify exactly doing? So JSON converts JavaScript object to a JSON string. Okay, we already knew that. It takes in a value, we know that, replacer and space. Okay, value is easy. This is the value that we are passing in. Replacer is an optional that alters the behavior of the stringification process. Okay, well, at this point we are not interested in altering the behavior, so we can skip this one. Space, it inserts white spaces into the output. Okay, so that's what it is doing. So let's go back to, so it looks like the first is the result, as the documentation said. So stringify result. The second is the replacer, which changes the behavior. We are not interested, so that's why it's no. Okay, so let's go ahead and put that no. And the last one says it adds spaces to it. It's capped at 10, so anything between 1 and 10. 1 indicates that no space should be used, basically between 2 and 10. And the documentation has 2, so let's go ahead and see what the behavior is. Okay, so I still have this remaining. The last one it said is I need to pass in search and degree type. Okay, so let's go ahead and put that in a new line so it kind of looks a bit nicer. Okay, the first is search. Okay, and the second is degree type. Okay, so degree type. All right, the easier one is a degree type. I just say F or C, so let me go ahead and put F. Search is anything city, so let's go ahead and see what is the temperature of Phoenix today. Format a document. Looks like that should be it. JSON.stringify, null2, errors, location name, or zip code. Okay, I can give a zip code also, or these two things. All right, so let's go ahead and run this. Am I ready to run this? No, excellent, Reggie. So I haven't installed it, so let's go back here. Nope. So let's go ahead and install this package. So the command, it says npm install weather-js. So npm, I showed you install. You can use I, does the same thing. Weather.js. Okay. All right, looks like it is successfully installed. Let me clear this, and then let's go ahead and run this node weather.js, and there is my JSON file. Look at how nice it looks with 2 spaces. Wow. Let's make it 1 and see what happens. Oh, so it kind of shifted towards the left. Okay. 4. After 10, it is capped, so it doesn't matter. Anything after 10 is kind of ignored. Yeah. From the documentation, remember I was reading this, it says it's capped at 10. It knows programmers, so they kind of capped it at 10. They're just keep playing with it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. What do you guys think? Got an idea? Okay. Yes, George. Okay. So installation. If I'm trying to use this package weather.js, right? Look at the documentation. What does the first line usually is installation, right? They say if you want to use this package, you need to do npm install weather.js. Okay. So you cd into your folder where your JavaScript file is, JS file is, and then do a npm install or npm I space weather.js. Okay, you do npm I or install weather.js, and it's going to go ahead and install this file. Okay, do you get it, George? Okay, all right. Yes, John. They're pretty big. Yeah. Well, this is just one package. When you are developing a website, it's not uncommon you'll be using 10, 15 packages. Yeah. We'll see how to. Right, right. But if you're doing one project, then it's never. These are exercises, that's why it seems redundant. But when you're working on a project, then it's never redundant. We'll see how to kind of go around that, but you still have to install. There's no way you cannot install if you want to use this package. You have to install. Yes.
Isn't it better to install the weather.js locally so that if you write more code or another JSON file, use it again?
Good question. But again, we are not going to be. This will be local. This will be only on your computer. Remember, this code is not going to run from your computer. Eventually, it's going to be deployed at a server, right? So it's going to be at your server side. Okay, and what you do is if you install globally, all right, if there's a new update or something, right, then you have to go back and redo the whole thing, or you won't even know what happened. You will just keep using the same version. And then the third thing is you will be using this code in your team. All right, so everybody will have this installation. You are not going to actually, when you're sharing your code, I'll show you towards the next few exercises. We are actually not going to share this node modules with anybody else. It's local, it's only you. Everybody, you're only going to share this code, weather.js. You're going to send this code to your partner, to your group member, and it's their responsibility to install these packages. All right. Now we'll see how they shouldn't be going in your weather.js, and I shouldn't be going in the top and try to find out what libraries you're using and then installing it. There's a better way, but that's why you do it locally. All right. All right. Good questions. Anything else? All right, so let's go ahead and you guys give this a try. Let's look at this one. Look at the next one. So you're going to use the node geocoder npm package. So again, go to npm site, look up this package and see how you are going to use it. Before that, you need to sign up with MapQuest API and obtain an API key. Okay. MapQuest API. Yeah, I've already signed up. Oh, yeah, there I am. Okay, once you sign up, let's see where I can find my key. My application. So go in your profile, go into my keys, and then you should be able to see your key, the consumer key, and this is what you're going to use in your code. Okay, so go to MapQuest API, Google that, and see the sign up process, and they will give you an API key. All right, so in this exercise, you're going to use MapQuest API and then use the node geocoder API to get the geocoding information. All right, so go into this npm package and see what the documentation says and what are we trying to achieve. Node geocoder. Close this out. Let's see. Node geocoder. Exact match. All right. For geocoding and reverse geo can be used as a Node.js library. Okay, looks like it gives you all the information of any address that you type in. So look at the documentation. Just as I followed the documentation, there's very little changes you will have to do, right? This documentation is pretty clear and should be able to use this and complete this exercise, okay? You should be able to do this in 15 minutes. Yes. Yep. The consumer key. So it should, when you go to your profile, it should show up like this, my keys, and then consumer key. That's your API key. Did you already get an API key, Blair?
Yeah.
And you signed up just now? Yeah. Oh, so it's a pretty fast process. First complete the regular one, then look at the bonus one. Bonus one is more testing your JavaScript skills. Have you heard from Bree? I haven't seen her since Project 1.
The
Oh,
node
you heard
bomb.
her?
Node bomb.
I was so happy nobody dropped out. Usually it happens.
It was the node bomb. It was as you predicted.
Before no.
No, she
Well, no,
didn't.
she just left.
She left immediately after the first project.
She didn't quit. Yeah.
She never came to Well,
I know.
it like the
Finding it hard now again.
She said she just figured out
that was
so she's like, it was her decision, but
I kind of like it. It sounds dirty. I mean,
Daniel's trying to ignore her.
What was that?
He's now named Avery Walker.
Avery Walker? What did he do with your project that she had to do? Yeah.
that's what I was
Telling it like it is.
Right?
I don't.
Yeah, I
trying
can
to
say
hold it
it.
together. She was like, I haven't.
Yeah.
I mean,
I should have clarified the project is going to change in Project 3. We won't have the same.
It's all Joffrey's fault.
hey, I will take the blame.
Yeah, consumer key directly.
I know, that's what it says.
Yes.
You have to set up a.
Not my account.
That's what I wrote.
No, you don't have to set up any account for NPM. Nope. What is it?
Search page.
Uh-huh.
Like there was two groups.
A search bar came up to me.
Yeah.
I don't.
Did you go to NPM?
Yeah, I'm in.
No. Let's go to NPM. It's a name, so go ahead. Son, this, yeah, they should serve.
What is this? So, why is this not working? This is telling everyone. What's going on? Why is this epic freaking key?
It's a string. It's a string.
Oh.
Gotcha.
You're always there when I need you. And I really like that.
If it's wrong, you know who to go to.
Alright, so let's go ahead and create a folder geocode and then geocode.js. Geocode.js. George, did you get it working?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to come in another folder.
Yeah, you have to be in the folder that where your JS file is.
Yeah, if you don't have some new everything's in the file.
Okay.
Open the folder, then you have to get the file again.
Let's look at the documentation. Okay. Installation npm install node geocoder. Alright, so let's go ahead and install this. Since I'm going to do require, I'm going to install it locally. So cd 30 geocode npm install node geocoder. npm install node geocoder. Awesome. Close this for now. Var create a variable and then require the library. Yes.
They have the same folder that your like the geocode.js file is it when you install the
Yep. But local is just local to that folder. Exactly like, so I created a folder, geocode, and then I have my JS file over here. And in the same folder, I did a npm install. So my node module folder should be within the JS file folder. Okay, not global, nowhere else. If it's not there, it won't be able to recognize and your program is not going to run. So it has to be really local in the same folder where your JavaScript file is or JS file. Exactly. I navigated to this folder geocode and then I did npm install and created this folder.
Okay. So not within the JS, no. You have to be in the JS.
Well, you can't go within the JS, right? It's a file.
Right.
So you can only go into this folder. Yep. Var node geocoder. I don't like the naming convention. Why is it uppercase? Var node geocoder. Might be because they are considering this as a constant, but node dash geocoder. Okay. I would do a quick test for this one. With this line, it shouldn't do anything, but it shouldn't even give me an error. If I did not have my package installed, it would give me an error because I'm trying to access something that's not there. So cd into my geocode folder. That's where my file is. Then run node geocode. Okay, no error. It just doesn't do anything. So this means that my installation is good and I should be able to use this library. The next thing they're saying is you have to declare a variable called options, and options is an object. Provider. I have Google. Are we using Google? No. So change it accordingly. We are using MapQuest. We already have an example over here. HTTP adapter, HTTPS, and it says it's defaults. If I skip this, what's going to be the value? Yeah, HTTPS. Yes, because it's default. So even if I skip this property, they are going to automatically set it for us. API key is important. Formatter is null, so I can even skip this one. I mean, it's not doing anything. Doesn't look like from the example. So I just need two things, provider and API key basically. So let's go ahead and create this variable var options. It's an object. The two things that are required are provider, and API key. Okay. And my provider is MapQuest. So MapQuest. My API key is consumer key. That's my API key. Okay, let's go back to the documentation. I have options, provider, API key, and that's all. Okay. And then I can pass these into my this variable that is created on the top. Oh, now I see they're kind of using it as a what we call JavaScript constructor. That's why they have it uppercase. We'll see that in next class, but I like that, so I'll go back and change it to uppercase. So they're saying do var geocoder, have to create a new variable called var geocoder is equal to node geocoder, which is this variable that you created. So node geocode, and then I need to pass in options. Again, I'm literally going from the documentation. This is how they specify that this is how we need to use this. Okay. Okay. So the user will provide the city in the easy case. Okay, so I can kind of hard code the city. So what it is saying. Oh, I still have to get the user. It doesn't matter. Okay, so city and state. So I need process argv, so I can get the city and state from the user. Get the city comma state from the user. So I'm going to use my process.argv to get the city and state. So my node command is going to be something like node geocode.js, and then they're going to type in a city. Let's say Phoenix, comma, space AZ. So how many arguments do I have over here? 2. And where does the first one stop? With the comma, right? Because it kind of breaks it by space. So my first argument will have the city name and the comma, and my second one will have the state. How many people are done? Just 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, okay.
Wait, what one was it? Leather? Which one was it?
What? What do you mean? Which one was it? The geocode one. Which one are you doing?
I was doing homework.
What? What homework?
Oh yeah, I did it. I have my address in here, so I obviously did something.
All right, so let's get the city. Process.argv, and this would be index number 2, and then get the state. Process.argv 3. So now I have my city and my state. So I need to concatenate both of them so I can have one string. So let's go ahead and say var address is equal to city plus add a space and then state space because my variable doesn't have a space, although my input does. So this should give me Phoenix space AZ. Okay, so now I have my address, and this is the address string that I need to pass into the geocoder library. Let's go back here and see what was the code. Geocoder.geocode. Looks like two parameters. The first one is the address. The second one is your callback function, which will have the result. Okay. Oh, so there are two ways to do it. So either you can use a callback function or you can use their .then promise method. Okay. It's cool. Let's do the first one. Geocoder dot. The method is called geocode. Okay. Close this out. Takes the first parameter, the string with the address. So we are calling it address. So I'm going to pass my address, and the second is the callback function. And how many parameters does this callback function has? 2, error and response. So error and response. If error, then console log error so that I can see what happened. Otherwise, console log response. Okay, so console log response. Okay, is that it? Yeah, looks like that's it. Call this method, pass it in, and let's go ahead and run this and see. So I'm calling node geocode. Let's pass in Phoenix AZ. Oh, there it is. There is my information. Let's go ahead and test with different city. Okay. So it's giving some information, missing few things. Okay. Let's see what are they testing with. Oh, we are using the city and the state, so that's why. Okay, never mind. But you can pass in an address also. I think that's the challenge one if you need to pass in. Oh, provide a location in any format and then search it. Okay, everybody got this part? No? What part did you get stuck in?
I'm expecting it. It's not coming up when I do the city and state.
When you do what?
When I type in the city and state.
Okay, so in your code, do you have the setup, everything is good? When you do npm install, does that was working? Everything was good? Did you install in the right folder?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the error now? Unexpected? What's the complete error? Good?
Yeah. No, I'm in the
Okay.
and it's not.
It's not finding it, so you might not be in the right folder. Do a ls. If you do ls, do you see that file over there? And if you do node space tab, it doesn't find it? Node space and then type in G, whatever just press tab. Yeah. The case is case sensitive, so it matters. Okay. No, look at the documentation. What did you see in the documentation? I can show you what I have over here, but it's exactly from the documentation. The geocoder. Is that what you have? Geocoder. Alright, did anybody complete the challenge one? Anybody else? No? Challenge one is right now we are taking city and state. If I want to change that to the address, like 151 Sip Avenue, this whole thing, or this whole thing. Mm-hmm. But how do you, where do you stop? It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This could be 1, 2, 3, 4.
Dot length.
Dot length.
I know.
For loop. Dot length.
Oh yeah, you probably
Even without the for loop. You can do this without the for loop. Remember slice method? Look at the slice method in JavaScript. Array.slice. So the input comes as an array. You can slice the array from index 2 and then join it on this space. So it will kind of combine everything without even the for loop. Again, it was a tricky question using the JavaScript knowledge. It has nothing to do with Node.js. Array.slice. Look at the slice method. Alright, so let's take a break. We'll start back at around 8. For those of you who want to do the challenge exercise, try it. This is just literally, this will get you that whole address. Alright, and we'll start back at 8 and we'll do some more NPM stuff. Anybody having issues who's not able to run? Okay. Nick? Open. Yes. Right. So you just search NPM I. Remember it's one installation on the side.
Yeah. I thought you searched it. You searched it.
Yep. I just went here and I searched. And I searched Node geocoder.
Yeah, that's so much better than the for loop.
And then I just click it.
Yeah, how did you do it? I was trying to figure it out now.
So it,
Boom.
Yeah,
just bring the laptop over.
I'm doing
I
it.
will come to you.
So like I'm doing process.rv.
To spell the process dot, it's hard
indices
AR
side.
instead of AGR.
So is that yeah, that's what I was gonna do. I know that. Like so it's a dot slice right here.
So, oh yeah, so you're just calling the dot slice method.
No?
It's, and then you're going to tell it what index is hierarchy. So it's
Let's see that.
and then you're going to tell it it's
not find module like more. Okay.
I can.
So this tells me that you have not installed.
I'm just keep going.
So you did, but you probably have not installed the right folder. If you did in the right folder, wherever your geocode.js is, you should have a folder called node modules, and
It's
that folder there. Node
it's grabbing the array process.
in your geo, wherever your JavaScript file.
Like the full address.
Yeah, it should just
And dot slice takes the array. And then
so you don't
start
see it.
with
This means it's not installed.
index in that array.
You don't. So you install it, but you install it somewhere.
So it's always
See,
good. And then just create the dark file
But in,
with all the
is
information.
that what we did?
Yeah.
What is
If
it?
error,
And then I'm saying, I'm calling the dot error method.
So
To join the by just doing it by doing the space between the elements.
they use what's called
That's not even
JavaScript
bad.
process,
I don't know,
which
like,
allows you to use .zen and
Yeah, but we
never use
I mean, yeah, okay, I feel like it's always much code we haven't gone into.
I have been doing
so
Yeah.
I have been doing
It's really long.
Yeah, the way you showed us the code, I'm like, enough fine
But yeah,
modules.
this
We did the wrong thing.
Yes.
Maybe I don't have it in the
Yeah.
You have a hat. Yeah, yeah, I just got an string right here.
Because I always had her to wear.
Oh,
It
yeah.
wouldn't go to the
Yeah,
you're like a
I love it because like all those captioning this video I was watching. I was watching it work, and people would be like, the dude's like, no. And every time it comes up as a subtitle, it was like, notes, no, known. It was like all the words that weren't known. That's usually a problem. Wait, did you guys get to work?
Yeah. No.
I got that joint. Oh, your string has got a spacer.
Kind of very.
It's like I need more.
No, I mean for the index. Oh, because it's a slide. Because it's a slice. That's right.
Yeah, you're saying.
Yeah. Sorry.
All the slice method.
I was focusing too much on the process.rb, thinking that after that it always is in brackets. Whatever NC you have, whatever. Yeah. So let me see if that
In that window, type in clear,
how much? So how
and
much?
then type in PWB. So desktop.
So I just put in my parents' address, 1428. And it did.
Do it.
Yeah. So that was the street. I also tried it
What is
with.
it? What does it pull up for you?
Okay.
Click on the package. So I get latitude, longitude, country, city, state, zip.
Yeah.
So because I'm just
Yeah. So when you install,
I am. Yeah.
when you install packages using npm, you have to make sure that each activity has its own separate folder. Because if you
So give me the latitude.
yeah, kind of. So you have to like moving forward when you start using npm, it's really good to have all these activities in their own separate folders because every time you install packages, a package JSON gets created, and that's specifically just for that project. Because when you start having all these other JavaScript files in here, and you start installing npm packages on top of that, package JSON is going to remain, but it's going to grow. But also, you can see here that under main, it's pointing to calculator.js. So we only want it to point to the file that's running us now. No, you're fine because you already have a folder here. Now we want to do an npm install geocode, whatever it was.
Okay, yeah.
Wait, so
You can put more, but I think that's enough for.
Well, it's not the folder; it's the name of the package. So,
I've done it like 4 times.
if you go to the your browser, scroll up on here. So that is
Wow. That was it.
Wait,
Wait, so was it?
They just give you
space because you were joining them or you get started.
So it's
one
still
giant
word.
word.
It was still. Oh no, I know. Longitude was on.
So it's like I didn't know if
Who the fuck knows?
So now,
It's
go
actually
back to your code.
Oh, it's the same.
So now you can see there's a node module folder in here.
It's giving me yeah.
Yeah, no, there's going to be a lot of stuff in there. Scroll up. I should have put it inside the folder.
have you been so religious?
Yeah.
When is
There's so much. Like, where do you get here? You come
I'm on the university.
So,
no.
I guess it's out
Yeah.
Running on? It's right in front of you.
Oh.
Is that
Yeah,
on
it's
salt?
right there. It's like it's directly converted
Extra folder, yeah.
car wash.
Oh my gosh,
It's
I never
converted car
thought
wash,
of
so it's
that.
really
Really?
so
So,
I
I
don't
guess
see
I
it.
had one
I
of
think
the
it's
like
sell
fancy or
soda.
I know what it is.
Yes.
I know it's a metal.
Yeah.
You know, you scream out.
Is it
So Sodalicious and Soda Shop are novelty sodas. So they just mix everything together. Pretty much anything you want. And they've got like syrups or different sodas. One that's really good at Sodalicious is the I Love Lucy, which is Coke with
It's all
raspberry flavors.
I took Shank's first one last like a couple weeks ago.
Some
Is
others.
that a must?
It is really good. And then there's also like the
Stay away
Crunchyroll,
from that.
which is like orange crush
Okay.
and a small bit of cream and
Yeah, but Scott has like 4 people on.
So good.
Like the one I can always take it maybe.
yeah, that's what.
Strawberry.
Oh yeah, that's the thing about the sodas nowadays. They don't have too many,
I need to go to my folder.
especially once you go to Sodalicious. It's like Sodalicious is big one. So it's a terminal.
You can do either or. It's the same thing except this one's a pack. So control
There's so many. I have to stop. I just know I just not
Oh my god.
And they're like, yes.
You can get like a pilot.
Yeah, I know. I'm like,
It's like a treat. Part of my price when I call it $13.
Soda.
I thought you said small.
I see that color box. I was trying to. I thought what I
For the franchise.
I had initially I read this. It wasn't like it wasn't.
Dean definitely learned something.
Pulling something from.
That was like before.
Which they did. I just really shut up. Yeah, which I thought would be whatever they typed in.
Get it right. Get it wrong.
That would have been the top. Looking at the homework, I know there's other parts that seem like you kind of build onto. You start adding a lot of. And I don't know if that's because I know the added step because I see a lot of added that part of the. This is like so if I put.
I give a
I thought that should be.
So currently, don't forget, when users search pages, you just set it so you're putting in an array, whereas this can't search using an array, it needs string. So you're going to have to convert that array to a string.
Like string.
Kind of, that's more of a basic function. You're going to want to do just kind of like what Daniel's got written up there, the array.slice .join is exactly what you're looking at. So if you right here, right after before the semicolon, do .slice. Starting within that string. Then you do .join. So dot join is going to be taking the different elements of the array and it's going to be pushing them together into a string. So join is going to be that in between space. So it can either be a space or a plus sign, depending on what you're doing. Like if you're stack join, which is combine them all together. So it will combine it, in this case, it will combine it into one big word. So what you're going to want to do is, would it be a plus how this one works is it is expecting a string. So it doesn't matter if you have spaces or not. Their example is by spaces, so I just use spaces. So if you go back to your code, in the join, if you put the space inside of your quotations, now try console logging, get rid of the blue, and just console log. Now try asking me. So now try another song because we know that
I don't know,
all the small ones. Okay, that's fine. I understand that. So you'll have to grab your API. Just get it and write it out one more time. That's good. So, always create a new folder. Anytime you do your homework, just create a new folder.
All right, let's look at the next one. All right, any questions on this? Everybody good? Oh, the slice part. So slice and join are part of the array functions. Okay, slice is saying that start from index 2. So I have an array. Remember from my array, I have my array. So it is basically saying ignore the first 2 indexes because these are the paths. Start from the second one and then join everything based on space. If there's a space, you know, break it and then join them. So it kind of combines and gives you one string. That's all it does. Okay. All right. So let's do the next one. In the next one, Nick or Troy must have slacked out the zip file. Let's see. Nick, can you slack out the 24? Yeah. So I want you guys to open up 24, work with the neighbor, and get it working. Look through the code and see what is happening, and then make it work. So the code is already there. What do you?
You were just like that guy on Project Runway.
Make it work. I don't care how you do it, just make it work. I've already given you the code, so the code is already there. First, go through the code, explain the code to each other. It's kind of a combination of the two exercises we did. All right? And then make sure it works. Number 24 and the zip file. He's about to select, he hasn't selected out yet. But it's exercise number 24. All right, so open up there it is. So open up 24 and then look at the README and then look at the JS file and see what is going on and run this JS file. It's not going to work, I can tell you, so you need to make sure, see how you can get it working. All right? So please work with somebody, make sure both of you understand what's going on and you guys are able to run this file. So don't worry about the npm init. I'll go through that, but see how would you install and get this part working at least.
So we put in an address and have it return forecast from the city, state, size of the code, temperature, and the forecast for tomorrow.
Yeah, looks like that's what the code is doing. Address, current temperature. Yep.
basically doing the same thing. Yeah, so what the wherever you designate to start, so let's start there. Yeah, no, so that's coming from. Well, actually, it's going to come from the occupancy. File. So we're using that. So what that does is start at 2 and you don't know how many something join on that takes it puts it in
Michael, can you go to
Apparently there was weather nails in that
Engineers are not really good with names, so that's why we kept repeating them.
So with the slice, how you said it joins everything together.
Join combines, not the slice. Slice.
Oh, right. Join combines. Does join? What's join gonna do with the yard?
What's that?
What's join gonna do with the yard? It's gonna put a comma after the
It won't do anything. So join method, you're saying if there's a space, then join those strings. So New York doesn't have a space.
New York?
Oh, if you're saying new space York?
Yeah.
Yeah, then you can combine it.
Okay, so it's on the
Yeah.
That's what So this one is responsive to data. So it has to stay. That whole part. Yeah, just like for those are exactly the same. Stringify data studies. Again, it's just the same thing.
Too young to understand that kind of
Search for the answer. That's the search
All right, let's take a look at this. So I'm going to delete these two files. I'm going to start from basic and okay. So in my folder, I just have this file. Okay, and what do I have to do to make this work? Okay, so if I run this, let's say Tokyo, Japan. Okay, I'm going to get some errors, right? It's not going to work, right? I'm missing the module. So what do I need to do to make it work? Okay, so the first, what's the?
Are you in the right directory first?
Yeah. Excellent question.
Can you do print working directory for me?
I did pwd and ls. Is that satisfies? Okay. So what do I do? npm I or install, and then what's the package name?
Node geocoder.
Node geocoder. First, so how many packages do I need to install? Two. All right, everybody get that? I have two required, so I'm using two. Okay. Let's start with the easy one. Okay, so I have one of them installed. What's the second one?
Weather-js, not .js.
Weather-js. Okay. Now, should I be able to run this one now? Node. And then okay, I'm still getting an error, so let's go back and see. Cannot read property 0. I'm missing my API key. Okay, so let's go back and copy my API key. Okay, now I'm able to run this. All right, anybody not able to? So you see I did 3 steps, install the 2 required files and then update my API key, that's all. And that should get the code working. And the output is, it's some JSON file, okay? Now, if you want this to run on somebody else's computer, what do you have to do? Maybe zip this file, send it to somebody, right? If you just send this destination.js file, it won't work, right? They have to install something, right? What is it? Well, you still have to install some of the packages, unless you do vanilla Node.js and you do everything without, but yeah.
Challenge not accepted.
Okay. All right. So here's the more important part now. That's the next topic. All right. So these packages, you see, we have to install this, and then it creates a node underscore modules folder which has all the installation. Right. This is local. Right. Now, if you're doing your project, let's suppose this is my project. Right. I have a team of 4 people working on it. I will go ahead and push this code. Right. I'm going to push these changes. And I'm going to push my node underscore modules folder also. Why? Because I want everybody else to download this and start running, right? Again, wrong. We never, ever, ever check in node underscore module folder. Remember that. Yes, you can check in, GitHub would say anything, but never check in node underscore module folder. Okay, never. Please, never, don't check in, right? Remember .gitignore file? What does gitignore does? It kind of ignores, you put in, it's a text file, you put in the packages, you put in folders that you don't want to be checked in, right? You don't want your GitHub repository, your Git repository to have these folders. So in gitignore, when you're creating a new project, you see there are templates. If you select Node.js template, you will see node underscore modules is mentioned over here in your gitignore. what it says is every time you push your code, do not ever push node_modules folder. Okay, just look at the size of this folder. Right now we have 2. I said it's not uncommon. You can have 5, 6, 7 more files, and then you see each package is installing these many files. You see that? Yeah. So you never want to push this folder to your GitHub. You don't want to populate. You don't want to pollute your GitHub with these unnecessary for your code. They are using your code uses these modules, but you don't need to push in. It's not part of your code. It's part of somebody else's code, and we can always regenerate them. And how do we do it? I can delete this and I have to just reinstall those things, right? Okay, first point. Never in your GitHub when you're working on your folder, please make sure in your git ignore file you have this, right? Never check in your node_modules. Never push your node_modules folder. Okay. Now if I don't push it, somebody else pulls my code. Will they be able to run as it is? They won't be able to run it, right? Because they have to go through this installation file. Okay. So now that's okay. They have to go to the installation. Now how would they know what packages to install? They'll have to open your code and then they will have to see all the requires. So if I had like 10 requires, they'll have to see 10 requires and do it. Okay. Well, there's an easier way to do it, right? And that's what we call, if you have noticed, you will see a package in some of the examples. You have seen a package.json file. Okay. So this is a really important file when you're doing your Node.js code. And absolutely every project has this, right? Package.json is, of course, a JSON file. We'll look at it. What it has is it has information about your project. It has information what packages you need to install to make it work. All right. It has your version numbers. It has description of your project and even the licensing information. Okay. So what happens is this file, this is how Node.js will recognize what to do. All right. So first of all, we need to create this package and then we'll see how Node uses it. So let me go ahead and I'm going to delete these Node.js modules. I'm going to remove this also for now. And then I'm going to show you how to generate a package JSON file. And then we'll see what all it has. Okay. Once you are in your directory, all right, what you do is you do npm init. Npm init is saying that go ahead, this is my project. I want to create a package JSON file. Okay. And then once you do that, it's going to walk you through some of the steps. The first step is says, what is your package name? All right. Package name is lowercase without spaces. So let's go ahead and call this weather dist. This is my package name. Okay. Says what version number. Again, these are kind of optional ones. I'm going to skip some of them because I want to show you the package JSON file. You can look up package JSON and see each option. The second option says version number. All right. If you don't put anything, what is the version number? 1. See, it gives you the default value. If you just press enter, this is the version number it's going to put in your package JSON file. So it's okay. It's an initial file, so I'm fine with that. Description. Now this can have spaces. What is your project doing? This project gets weather info based on location. Okay, I'm good with that. Entry point. Entry point is what's the entry point? What is the, remember for your front end project, what's the entry point? When we are doing our, who said index? Yes, index. No. I've said JavaScript. Front end. There's no required Node.js in the JavaScript ones. All right. So the main entry point is index file, right? So in this case, in Node project, since there's only one file, if you have multiple ones, it's going to ask you what's the starting point. All right. Yes, John.
After version, now you gotta go to the description of the repository.
That's okay. So it might be you are using a different version of Node, of npm. That's fine. It's okay. You can manually add it, but it might be the version of npm that I'm using versus what you are using. That's all. Okay. So entry point, that's fine. It's only one. Test command, I don't have to worry about it. It's for when we get to unit testing part. I can ignore that. Git repository, if you have uploaded to your GitHub, you will type in your HTTP website. I don't have that right now, so I can ignore that. Keywords, weather, location, just like tags on your websites. Author, put in your name. License, by default it is ISC. You can look up different, you have MIT license and all that stuff. You can look up those licenses. For now, I'll keep the default one. And then important over here, you see it generated a JSON. All right, because it's a package JSON file, it is saying this is what I'm going to create and put it in your package JSON file. Does that look okay? Yep. I'm going to say yes. And you see a package.json file was created. Okay, this is again package. What is package JSON file? It is the whole description, what we call manifest. This is how Node.js kind of recognizes your project. All right, this is used for your Node.js to understand what you're trying to do. Now, go back to npm, right? We were searching projects, right? Every project has an npm. This is how they kind of created those packages. They create their packages, they give their name, version, and all that stuff. So if you look up any GitHub project from npm, all of those are open source. So if you go to their GitHub repository, go in your own time, and you will see a package JSON. Every project has a package JSON. Okay, again, what is package JSON? It's metadata. It's manifest of your project. It describes what your project is, what it is doing. Okay, for now, this is the easy part. Okay, we don't have to really worry about it. What we need is, I'll show you what happens when you install these things. Now, if you have your package JSON created, now please observe what happens when I install my packages that are dependent packages. So I'm going to go back to my terminal. Okay. Npm install, what was the first one? Geo-code. This node-geocode. Okay. Again, this is only going to work if you have a package JSON file in your project. Geocoder, thank you. Okay, is this good now? All right, so it's going to install, and then you will see it's going to update my package JSON file too. You see what happened?
Oh, you got dependency.
Dependency. This is the magic of package JSON file. Everything your project depends on is going to add those dependencies in your package JSON file. Let's go ahead and do the second one. Second one was please again. Weather-js. Again, what is happening? Your package.json file has the information about your project. So it is updating. It's saying that your project depends on these two things. It's not going to work unless these two are installed. Okay. Now. Okay, let me go to the next one. But everybody okay for now? Package JSON, you create, how do you create your package JSON? npm init. All right, before you even install anything. So you're going to do npm space init. It's going to ask you a bunch of questions, answer those questions, and then it's going to create your package JSON file. Okay. Now, once you have created your package JSON, you're going to install the libraries, because I know I'm the creator of this project, right? I exactly know what libraries do I need, right? But you don't know if I am sharing this code. Okay, so everything looks good. Now I'm going to go ahead and delete this node modules folder. Let's suppose I push my code and somebody went in, I went in, and I'm like downloading your code, right? So in my GitHub, I have only two files. I have package JSON, and then I have my actual file, right? So I'm the new person on the team. Now I have to install your libraries. I'm not going to open your libraries and see 10 dependencies and do this. What I'm just going to do is I'm going to do npm install. That's it. Now what happens is if you do npm install and there's a package JSON file in this folder, it will automatically go to this package file and install every dependency that is listed over there. And then I should be able, and what am I going to do? Whether and there's my code. See how simple this was? All I did was npm install again. So let me go ahead and delete this. And this is only going to work if you have package.json file. Okay? So I went to GitHub, I downloaded your code project. Everybody was a good programmer, so they never checked in their node module folder. Okay, and everybody was good, so they included a package JSON file which has all the dependencies and everything. Okay, now I went ahead, I want to install, make sure this works, because if I run this right now, it's going to give me an error, right? Because none of my modules have been installed. So what I need to do, I need to do npm install. That's it. Again, this is only going to work if at this location you have a package JSON file. It's not going to work if the package JSON doesn't exist. Now what does npm install do? It automatically goes to your package JSON file and then install everything that is listed as a dependency over there. Okay, and then I will go ahead and run my file and it should be running.
Is that only like local files? Like at this local?
This is local. Exactly. Why is it local? Because I never checked in these modules in my GitHub, right? So, but what I checked in was package JSON file, very important, and then my actual code, right? And that's what you do. So that's why you never check in your node modules. You make sure that anybody who's using your code, they do the installation. And how do you take the burden that what they need to install? Though you introduce a package JSON using the npm init, do an npm init, generate a package JSON, then do all your npm installs of your dependency, because you know what you need, right? Nobody else knows. Once you are done, your package JSON automatically gets updated with dependencies, and your code is ready to be checked into GitHub. All right, then you check in your GitHub, somebody downloads it, does an npm install. This is why now if you look at some of the GitHub pages, GitHub code, you will see the first instruction people say is do npm install. I don't know if you run, but you will see the first instruction you will see in your GitHub is people mention do npm install. Like do a git clone first. That's what they say. Go into that folder and then run npm install. And that's what it does. They already have a package JSON, goes, looks up the dependencies and install all the dependent libraries in your code. Okay? Questions? Yes?
How do we do a bit more when we're uploading? So of course, you wouldn't have us delete it on our side and then upload everything to GitHub. You said to do the git ignore.
Right. So git ignore is when you're creating a new project in GitHub. You see there's an option over there which says include README and include git ignore. You select that, and then on the drop down search for Node.js and include the template. That template will have this folder. Okay. You can create it manually, but this is the best way to do it. All right. Any other questions? Yes, Dante.
So when you have the package that is on, and you clone it,
No, you don't have to do anything. When you clone your library, clone the project, you will get your package JSON and your weather desk. That's all. You cd into the project folder, of course, and then just do npm install. And why you don't have to worry about? Because as a writer of that project, I know what the dependencies are required, and you cannot like pick and choose. Be like, well, I can skip that because I'm the one who created, so I exactly know what is required to run my code. Okay? Yes, Matt.
what created that package lot?
Yeah, I'll come to that practice in a minute. Yes.
Yeah, but the npm init. So if you already have one and see it wrapping up whatever you're working on, you like overwrite?
Yeah, I think it's going to overwrite. I haven't tried it, but it's going to overwrite probably. Or it might give you an error. Try it and see what happens. Yeah, I haven't. Now these things, I don't know why I would try, but Now I'm like curious. See what happened.
I'm not gonna find it.
Yeah, it's going to override it. Okay, I'm going to skip this. I don't want to override this. Okay. All right. Anybody else had a question? Who else had a question? All right. Two things. The first thing is, you see this caret sign over here? It's very dangerous also and very helpful also. So the caret sign says install the version of this library 3.22 or above. Okay? Alright, one more time. So this caret sign tells that install this library, this Node.js library with a version of 3.22.0 or above. If there's a new version, let's suppose they release a version 3.23, and then you as a new coder come in and then do a npm install, what version are you going to get? You're going to get this version, the newer one. Why? Because in my code I have specified any new library. Okay? Exactly, and that's the bad part. If they have updated their library to 4.0.0, it is going to break your code. Why? Because every time the first number changes, the first number represents what we call breaking changes. This means that they have updated, they have rewritten their library, whatever they have done, anything below that version is going to probably break your code. So either, if you are going to a higher library, so either make sure you read the documentation or don't go to that higher library if you're not ready. So most of the time you will see people kind of remove this caret sign. What does this say? Only go ahead and download and install 3.22. All right. If there's a 3.23, you're not going to get it. If there's a 4.0.0, you're not going to get it. Okay. So you have to just make that choice what you want to do. I have run into this issue, so I'm telling you, I had this and somebody else is running and my code doesn't work. I'm like, it's running over here, it doesn't run over here. Because I had the caret sign and they got the breaking changes one and it broke everything. Okay? So be very careful when you're generating this. For your code changes right now, it's okay. But if you are doing your project, right, make sure, if you are having some issues, make sure that everybody is on the same version of the library. I suggest removing the caret. I hate that. Because what happens is silently kind of updates it, right? If there's a new team member, it gets updated and nobody knows what's going on. All right. But by default, if you create a package, you will see that they include this caret sign. The good part is if there's any new thing, if there's a security loophole, your code will be updated. So again, make your choice and see which one is better. All right. The second one is package log JSON. So to cater to this issue, what they did was they created another file, package log. What log does is it locks the modules, modules that are used it over here. Right? So I created this code using 3.2.0. All right. If there's a package log JSON file, it says that, do not go above this, don't do this, just stay at 3.2.0. So this is a newer version of npm. All right. What they do is they create an extra file instead of removing this caret. I don't know why. They created a whole new file which kind of tells your project, whoever is loading it, that certain versions, just stick to it. Don't go ahead and start creating some new versions. Again, this is optional. A lot of the projects who have not updated to a new version of npm, they won't see this log JSON file. Right? Again, Matt asked, so I'm telling you, I would probably start with just package JSON file. Don't worry about the log file yet. Stick to package JSON. Remove the caret sign or include the caret sign, because the more important part is the package JSON file. Okay. So Matt, log file kind of locks you into that, and it has a bunch of other stuff. But again, this is more like a newer version. More important is understanding package JSON and start using that first. Yes.
Yeah, there was a video I was watching that said that if you were using Node version 5 or later, then you would see a package log file, but if not, you wouldn't see it.
Right. So that's why I try to not cover that because package JSON is important. It's hard enough to understand that first. Even looking at log file is the next level. So first of all, please make sure you understand package because that's more important. Okay. Again, package JSON has the manifest, all the metadata about your project. More important, it has all the dependencies. Okay. Oh yeah.
As long as it has the dependencies in package.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't really need my log file right now. Okay, I tend to delete my log file usually for the projects. Okay, all right. Questions about package JSON? Everybody gets an idea what it is? It's extremely important. Again, any project that you look at in your in anybody GitHub, you will definitely see a package JSON file. You can open it up. You can see the licensing information, all the dependencies. I remember on project one, people were looking at some Node.js code. Maybe go back and kind of look at it now. It would make more sense what's going on. Why do they have this package JSON files? And where are the node modules? Why don't they have node modules over there? You will see a bunch of stuff. Yes?
So since you're never uploading those node modules, when you're done, what makes it actually work?
What makes it work?
On the live website.
On the website? Good question. So the same thing. On the website, you have to write a script that does npm install. We'll see. Heroku does that for you. So good question. So when you're deploying, same steps. But this time, a computer is going to run this command, but it has to be run. So you always say, hey, whenever I do a deployment, run npm install the packages, and everything is good. What is it? Yeah, because it doesn't have that capability. Yeah, because on your GitHub pages, it's static files. For this one, you have to run some script files. So Heroku kind of does it for you. So that's why. Yes. Good question. Okay. All right. So here's take like 5 minutes and complete this exercise. You already did installation. So go ahead and delete the node modules folder. Create a package JSON. Use npm init. Make sure you understand the commands, and then delete the folder again. Make sure you do an npm install, and then it should download. It should create all the dependencies. All right. Let's take 5 minutes and complete this exercise, and then we'll look at another Node.js library. Okay, so we are deleting this folder. We are going to create a package JSON, npm init, and then install everything, add those dependencies, and then delete it again and just run npm install. It should install everything.
So you're not going to be deleting stuff JSON, but you're going to delete
Well, if it's package JSON is there, delete it. If you did you do npm init? Did you create that JSON package JSON? No, then delete it and create your own.
So it's delete the node and the packages.
Yes.
Delete the new packages.
Right. The only file that you should have right now is weather-js, and then do the steps again.
just do
You got a working player? Let's see your dependency. Good, John?
So, how do I do that? I got a package lock. How do I do a package?
Don't worry about the package log. You didn't. What did you do? Did you npm init?
I deleted both the so the package Dixon and I deleted the package
Yeah, that's fine. So right now you just have weather desk.js.
That's where we go, right?
Yeah, in your 24 exercise, delete everything except weather desk.js, and then start fresh.
And you go into the, when you open your terminal, you open your terminal in the package and
Yeah.
then you install, right?
Yeah. Well, not install. You do
No, the
create.
in it section.
Yes, create a package JSON
I
file.
didn't delete the node line.
Delete node modules also. It should only have weather dest. npm init first will create your package JSON, then install. Not this install, you have to install individual packages first because you need to include them in your package JSON. The first time they won't be included.
Then you answer the questions, right?
Uh-huh. Should somehow look something similar, depending on what version you're using, but it should still be working. Yeah. Whether JS and Node geocoder. Yeah. Yep. What is it?
I forgot. I was like,
Oh. Yeah.
I was trying to find it.
Yep.
So you just hit enter after the package name or sorry?
Well,
After the package name.
well, right now if you press enter, in the parentheses it has a default value. That's what the package name will be. Are you okay with that package name? Otherwise,
Oh, okay. So
change the name to lowercase something. It has
yeah. I was like, go back and just change it.
well, you can go back.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to go back.
But it's still
Yeah. If you don't put, it's going to show you the default values, and that's what it's going to put it as.
And you need to it's just that doesn't.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So Spotify, the note Spotify package handles all the services.
Yes. All the programming languages. Do you see Node?
Just one word for that. That's it.
Yeah.
And that automatically.
And when I upgrade the
Yeah. Over there, does it have node underscore modules folder?
It does.
Right. When your project becomes bigger, it has all those things. So eventually you will see all those packages. So it's kinda-
None of those are like normal things that you put in one.
Yes, you don't want anything from that .ignore to come up in your code, in your GitHub. Yeah. So don't worry about whatever. So the point was I was saying the node modules is included in that .ignore, and that has been created over time. And people have, as more libraries come in, they have realized that they don't want these. So everybody kind of adds to it. So they came up with this .ignore.
I didn't know if I was doing
And you can also create your own. Just .gitignore and just include node modules.
Sure.
This one is just easier. It is a built-in template that has probably everything that doesn't need to go in GitHub. Yeah, it has a lot of that. What?
It's usually I deleted my reading.
That's okay. You can go back and do it.
Can I just do a touch?
That's what.
Touch reading?
Yeah. Or you can pull again from GitLab and you get it back.
Oh.
Yeah, you can get it back. But did you get your?
Pull again.
Yeah, it's going to override.
Yeah.
Just create one. Yeah. That's why I was saying initially when the class began, keep your GitLab folder that you pull separate from the working one. Never touch that folder. Because so now, what do you do when I post the solutions? How do you get them?
I copy it to like a staging folder.
Okay.
And then from the staging folder, I move it into.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so you can just read me from there, copy it over. Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, that's a good thing.
I don't copy directly to it.
Yeah. All right, everybody good? Any questions? Good, Kyle. All right. Let's look at the next one. Okay. You guys are having too much fun. Is it this easy? I don't get it. All right. I need to up the game over here. All right. So this will be a challenge now. Okay. Let's do this one. So look at inquirer.js. Now, again, as I said, right, in this class, you guys have the basic knowledge of Node.js. After npm package.json, that's all about Node.js. That's all, right? Now we are just looking at different packages, how to use those different packages. One of them is Inquirer. This is more useful because in your homework, I think this is suggested that you need to use. So we'll just quickly go over it. So for now, for user input, what have we been using? Argui, yeah, process.argui, right? So Inquirer, somebody came up with a much better library that kind of basically does user input for you. Okay, so this is a really fancy one. You will see colors, you will see you can like make choices, go use arrows to go up and down and all that stuff. So Inquirer.js kind of does that for you. So I'll start with some basic example, and then you guys can explore and then come up. They have a lot of options, but let me create some basic ones. So I'm going to create a new folder quickly, call it Inquirer. Okay, create a file, inquirer.js. Okay. Okay. Hopefully I spelled it Inquirer. Okay. So the first thing I need to do is npm install Inquirer. I'm not going to keep typing this. I'm going to just copy this. So what do I need to do? I need to make sure I go in that folder, Inquirer folder, do ls, make sure I'm there, yep. Then I have to do a npm install Inquirer, okay. Let's go ahead and install that. Oh, you know what? I should have done the better way. So I'm going to redo this now. Move my package. Okay. So I'm going to create my package file. Npm init. Package name Inquirer. Yep. Keep the same name. Version. Yep. Keep the same description. Demo for inquirer node package. Entry point, yep, keep the same. Test command, not yet. Git repo, don't have one. Keywords, inquirer, author, put my name, license, I'm fine with this, yes, okay. And then I'm going to install inquirer so that my package.json file, ooh. Okay, let's go back and see. Refusing to install package under inquirer. Oh, it's kind of having a clash. So let's go back and change inquirer dash demo. Okay, so guys saw what happened. Now it should work. So again, each library is a npm package, right? And when I'm using package.json, I'm creating my own npm kind of deal, right? So if I was able to upload that on npm, anybody can go ahead and do an npm inquirer and download my package. Now this name already exists, so that's why it was saying I cannot use this name if I'm using some different package in my code. So I cannot use the same name that I was trying to download, so I had to go back and change mine because they were first and they actually have a package over there. Okay, so fix that. Dependencies, I have my dependency over here now. Okay, let's delete that just to make sure it gets installed. I need this. If I do npm install, this should install the same file and I should have everything looking good. Yep. Alright, so as soon as that completes, alright, so what's the first thing? Let's go back over here. It says var inquirer require this thing. So let's go back here. Okay, I'm going to run this to make sure that this is working. Okay, if everything is installed, I shouldn't have any error, and you saw nothing happened, but there was no error. So this means my installation is good and I'm able to go ahead and use this. Okay, all right, so let's see what they're saying. They're saying I'm going to change this syntax a little bit, but what basically it is saying, use this dot prompt, and it looks like you have to pass an array, and then there's a dot then function, and it takes, this is a newer syntax, we'll look at the syntax later on, but basically dot then function, we know what is it expecting? A callback function, right? Dot then function always needs a callback function. This is a newer syntax to write that callback function. We'll look at in later weeks, but for now we'll go and change this a bit. Basically I need dot prompt and dot then. So let's go ahead and write this out. Inquirer dot prompt, okay, and then dot then, and then let's go ahead and fill this. Let's make it next line so that it is visually pleasing. All right, let's complete this one. This one is easy. So it says I need to create a callback function with one parameter. Let's call it answers as they are calling it. Okay, and that's it. We'll have to do something over here. Okay, and prompt is expecting a parameter, and that's what's the data type for this parameter? What is it, Reggie? It is an array. Excellent. Yep. So I need to pass in an array. Let's go ahead and pass in an array. Okay. Now let's go back and try to see what they're expecting. So it looks like this thing, prompt, you ask a question, and in the then function you have the answers. Yeah? Let's see what it means. A question object is a hash. Let's not worry about that, which has related values. All right, I don't know what this means right now, but it has, looks like it has type, it has name, message, and all of these things. Okay. Let's see if they have a good example. Oh, there's one. Choices. So you can get this running. Let's see how we get to that. Okay, let's start with something basic. Let's start with name. Oh, there's a choices. Let's start with message, the question to print. Okay. So looks like this is an object. We said an object. Okay, excellent. And name. Let's start with name. What is name? Oh, let's start with the first one, type. I skipped that. So type of prompt. Input, number, confirm, list, raw list. Let's see what input is. Type is input. Okay. Message, the question to print. Okay, so let's go ahead and do message. And let's ask a question. What is your name? Okay. Name, the name to use when storing the answer. Okay. So name, let's call this username. Okay. So my user, I'm going to, what it is saying that you ask a question. What type of a question this is? It's an input. So looks like I need to type in the answer. All right. And then whatever the answer is, where do I want to store it in? I want to store it, create a variable called username and store that value over there. Okay, that's looks like that's what they're saying. The name to use when storing the answer. Okay. Let's look at one more. There was an interesting one, the list one. Where's the choices? Choice of arrays. I think I saw choices somewhere over here. Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay, let's try this one. So this is one object. I'm going to format that. I'm going to add a new one here. This would be my second question. Okay. All right. So type is going to be a list. Okay. And message is the question that I want to ask. What can I ask? What is your favorite word? Ah, you're catching up on it.
I'm learning.
Did I spell that right? There you go. Excellent. Good question. I like that. And then I need choices. Oh, why am I getting it? Comma. Choices. Let's start with these three and see if this even works. Okay. No, I should have tested the first one. I think I got ahead of myself. All right. Last thing, I need to give a name, the variable that it saves. Let's call it Avenger. Okay. Let's see if this works. Okay. So from the documentation, I created two questions. All right. This is how you create questions using inquiry. The first question is the input, so I have to, looks like I have to type something in. The second one is a choice, so it should give me a choice. You will see I've done this before, so I know. I think it gives like an arrow or something. All right, and then when you choose, this answers will have the answers for whatever you typed it in. So let's go ahead and just do console log first, answers, and see what happens. Okay. All right, let's go back here. Here it is, node inquirer. Okay, so I type in my name, and then you see it gives me these choices, fancy choices. And then go back up. Oh, sorry. All right. So I selected something, and then you see I console log. So basically, it returns a JSON which has all your responses stored. All right. Now, how do we access our JSON? Again, one more time. When I answered this question, I did a console log answers, and this is the response. So basically, this is a JSON, and then it has username Avenger. Now, if I want to access the username, how would I access it? Console log user. What do I do? Answers. Excellent. Answers dot username. Let's comment this out and let's run this again. Okay, and then you see I was able to get just this answer. Right. Let me go back one more time. Okay. So Inquirer, now you understand we were using process argv. Inquirer is basically a replacement or a fancy library if you want to get user input. Okay. And it has different options. It has input, list, and a lot more. Okay. The two things I showed you was the first one was the input. If it's an input one, then you type in the answer. If it's a choices, if it's a list, you pass in what you want the user to see, and then they select one of those choices. All right. The important part is how do I get them back? In my then function, this object over here has a JSON with all the answers. All right. And how is it distributed? This is important. The name. It will have, these are the property names that it puts, and this will have those values. So in my username, I have whatever the user typed it in. In my Avenger variable, in my Avenger property, I have whatever the user made this choice. Okay? Questions? Again, this is a totally third-party library that I'm just looking through a documentation. Let's do a quick exercise. This exercise is from the previous one. Remember, we were taking user location and all that stuff. So kind of change from process argv and try to use this library and get the weather location, and then it will get the information for that city. Now again, we are changing from process.argv into this one. So let's see what this one says. Create a basic command line application, and then you're going to use input. I already showed you this one. Password, I showed you the list one. So try to see how do you get password, checkbox, and confirm. Okay, and for that, please look at the documentation. Let's see, password. Okay, they do have an option for password. Checkbox, there it is. And the last one is confirm, and there's confirm. Okay, so you have 4 options. One more time. Type, message, name, and depending on what you're trying to do. So give it a try, look at the documentation and see if you can figure out the password first, and then look at checkbox and then confirm. Password is interesting. I think it puts a star every time you type it in. It's kind of smart. If you select password, huh? Well, I mean, the way that they have built the library, that if you select password, instead of typing the whole password, they put in star. And in the answer, you get star back. So, no, you get the answer. You get the actual password back. Oh, so I can just add the, let's go to this one, go to new. So I did the basic input in this. Let's look at the password. So we just need one more new object. Okay. The password is going to be type password. And then the question. Okay. And I need the name so that I can store that password. Name, store the password. Let's see what I get for password. Let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. Ooh. Oh, it's a new terminal. Encoder. And there's my node module, so now I should be able to run this. What is your name? Okay. Please enter password. Ooh. Fancy. So it doesn't even show stars or anything. It will look like you are typing and nothing is happening. But this is kind of like the, somebody has used Linux and Unix, that's how they do it. Yeah. Nice. Oh yeah, I like it, but yeah, that's the Unix simulator, right?
I think there's an option you can do.
Oh, okay.
You can set, I think it's like mask.
Okay.
I think the default is like.
Oh. Let's see, where's mask? Oh, in this inquirer?
Yeah, I saw it. When I did, I just command.
Oh. So I can enter mask. Oh, fancy. Let's try that. Mask. This thing. Oh, there you go. Thank you. Cool. So that's how you do the password. What else was required? Checkbox. Let's try checkbox. So type is, let's go back up here and see. Type is checkbox. Okay. And then message is my question. Okay. Name, call it choice. Okay. I need to give choices. Choices array. Choice 1. Choice 2. Choice 3. Okay, and then let's go ahead and output what choice it is. Select. Let's run this. So my name. This is my list. Enter password. Oh, choices will show up like this. Press space to select and A to toggle all, or I to invert selection. Oh, that's cool. So if I press A, it selects all. Press I, it doesn't do anything. It inverts it, and then space will let me pick more than one. Oh, so if I pick 2, so what do you guys think? It's going to return me an array then. Is it an array? Oh, it is. Nice. Okay. What was the last one? Confirm. Let's try the last one. Confirm. So type is going to be confirm. Okay. Message. So are you sure? And name, very important because I need to capture that answer. So name, let's go ahead and give this confirm. So it's going to, should ask me yes and no. So answers dot, let's try me. See what happens. Right, so start switch. Choice, password, choice 1. Are you sure? Yes or no? Okay. Oh, undefined. Oh, sorry. Confirm. Oh, there it is. Oh, so if you do a confirm, it returns you true or false. Interesting. So what are the important parts? Do I require? Okay, and then prompt and then function. And prompt takes an array of objects, and each object is a question. And these are kind of different ways you can do it. I have a question. What question? What is your question? Why what?
I just did the checkbox one.
Okay.
And after I picked it, it said pick one, press space to select A to toggle all I to input selection.
Okay. Right, that's coming from Inquirer. So they are kind of helping you. They're saying if you want to select one of the choices, move around and press space bar, and then it will select.
Do it after. I was confused.
Do you have 2 checkboxes? This one? Okay, run it again and show me why. Didn't come up after. What came after?
Oh, so it just indicates that it
Yeah.
How did you make it so you can have multiple in there?
Multiple what?
Like, because when I try to add another one, like I have the checkbox one, fine, and I just was trying to say, okay, well, let me just do a long list. Because so, how you had multiple lines, but when I run it, it runs and does the checkbox one, but I can't get the other one to show.
So you have one prompt, and then one array, and then one array has multiple questions. Is that how you set it up?
Yeah.
Okay, and then your answers, are you accessing the right one? Right property?
Yeah, but well, what is your confirm? Why is your attention confirm?
What do you mean, why is it?
Oh, okay. Never mind.
So again, importance are type, message, and name. Type is going to be what type, and then you can look at the documentation for what type. Message is the question that you're asking, and name is the variable, the property that this JSON is going to store the answer in.
Well, it looked like when you ran yours, it had all of the questions.
It had all of the questions. It should. Well, one by one.
Yeah, like when you.
Yeah, it should have all the question one by one. So that's my first question, right?
Yeah.
And then that's my second question. And that's my third question. That's my fourth question. And that's my last question. Okay?
Well, can I see that code again? That one. Can you go and scroll up? Well, why did you use answers confirmed?
What do you mean?
Like at the bottom.
Again, I didn't understand the question. Why did I do what?
Okay, never mind.
Blair, did you get that question? What was the question?
No, never mind. I get it.
I answered what I thought the question was, and it seemed.
No, I want to make you feel bad. That's all.
No. Don't make me feel bad. I get it.
I'm just kidding.
Secretly looking at me.
God, I needed this. I needed the savagery.
All right. So this is inquire, and this is the basic stuff. I'm going to push the solutions. You guys take a look at it again. You will be using this at your homework, I think. All right. Nick is going to introduce in a bit. All right. One last thing before he comes up for the homework. So remember, I talked about local versus global npm packages. So I'm going to just quickly show you one global package so that you know how that works. All right, this global package is called inspect. Let's go back here. Let's go ahead and open this exercise. No debug. Okay. Inspect dash process. Let's see. All right. So now in any language we want to debug, right? You can use console log for debugging purposes. If you're trying to debug something in Node.js, you can console log works also. They have one more debugging library that you can use. It's called inspect dash process. All right. what it does is it will, in other languages we call a breakpoint. What it does is it will stop your code at a certain location that you tell, and then you can look at what the values are there. Right? Let me show you how you do this in Node.js. So this is exercise number 28, and this one already has, it's a previous one, weather.js, and we are going to debug this this JavaScript file. All right. So if you look at, if you search inspect-process in npm packages, let's scroll down and look at the usage. The first thing is, this is how you install. So npm I or install -g inspect process. Okay. Why? Because if you see, I'm using my weather destination.js file to for this package, but I don't have any require for that inspect process, right? So I have required for these two. So first of all, I'm going to install this so that this is working. And in this file, I already have a package JSON, so I don't have to install individual packages. Okay, so all I can do is npm install, and this should install all my packages, the two packages. All right, let's go back here. Now, let's go back here and say npm install -g inspect process. I'm going to install npm install -g global inspect dash process. Ooh, come on. Okay. If you want to uninstall, the command is npm uninstall and then the package name. All right, so what it did was it globally installed my package. Now if I want to use inspect, this is how they're saying use it. Inspect and then your file that you're trying to inspect. Now what am I doing to run this file? I'm doing node and then this file, right? So since I installed this globally, what did I say? I can use this on the terminal. So according to them, I should be able to use inspect and then my file name. This is the difference between the local and the global install. Local, rule of thumb, if you use a require, then you should install it locally. If you are using something globally, then you can use this in the terminal. All right. If I did not install that globally, I would not be able to use inspect like this. You know what? Let me uninstall and show you guys. npm uninstall inspect -process. Okay. So inspect install. How did I install? Let me try. Install MSG. So you see it gives me an error. No such file or directory exists, right? Because I don't have this installed globally, so I cannot use inspect on my terminal. All right, so let's go back and install this globally, and then we should be able to use this. All right, while that is installing now, how do I use it? Now you see this statement over here, debugger. This is called a breakpoint. This, what it means is, this is where your code is going to come and stop. It's not going to execute anything after that. It's going to come and halt over here. All right, and this is what we call a breakpoint. Let's suppose there's some, you want to see what's in address variable, right? Instead of doing console log, you can put a debugger after the inspect again, debugger semicolon, that's it, and go ahead and run this. Inspect, instead of node, do inspect and your weather, the file that you're trying to inspect. Enter. It's going to open, I think it opens up a browser-ish. Yeah. And then, oh no, what happened? I don't have my dependencies. What happened to my dependency? Oh, there they are. No, they're there. What happens? No, you said you had the same error, right? Might be the same issue. So I'm curious. No space. No, there's space.
Mine doesn't open.
So I'm missing. Oh, is my? Maybe I didn't. I don't have my key correct. Oh no, there it is. Right? Let me go back and. Weather. Let's see. No, it's the geocode one. Yeah, looks like the same key. Oh, is it already running somewhere? Nope, doesn't look like. So the right key. Let's try again. Great number. User Studio froze. Oops. Right. Oh, what did I do? Yes, that's is that what you're saying? Yeah, that's why I think the API key is different. Oh, there it is. Oh, you know what? That's the issue because I'm not passing anything. Thank you. That's the issue. Oh, you were whispering. Why were you whispering?
Shout it out.
All right. So I was not passing anything. So let's go back here. And let's pass in something. All right. CD. What example is this? 20. 28. Okay. Here we go. All right. So inspect weather.js, and then I have to pass in something. So that's what I was missing. Thank you, Ches. And wait, Bryce? Sorry, Bryce.
Speak up.
All right, there we go. All right, look at it. So it opens up in Chrome, and then you see it stopped. I don't know if I can zoom this in, but it kind of stopped where the statement as a debugger. So at this point, I can see if you hover over it, you can see what the address, what this variable has. And then if you want to step through, we call this step through in the debugging process. What it does is it will go line by line. So if I press step into the next function, goes to the next line, goes to the next line, goes to the next line, and see what's exactly happening. All right. So this is an alternative for console log. You can use console log for debugging purposes. That also works. But this is a more sophisticated library. And in other programming languages, this is kind of deal that we use. Now, those things kind of come built into Java, C# and everything. But Node.js, kind of JavaScript way, so it doesn't come built in. So that's why somebody created this. But in any other languages, this is what we do. You have a debugger, you attach a debugger, and then you step into every line and see what's going on. Yes? No, the debugger is the breakpoint. So I can write as many debuggers as I want, and that would be my breakpoint. So I put one over here. I can put one more, and that is basically your breakpoint. Where's my debugger? Am I looking at the right one? Oh, and I'm looking at the wrong one. I know. There it is. All right. So I can, if I want to create a new breakpoint, I can create a breakpoint here, and then, but it still is going to be debugger. That's how you create a new one. Yes, Matt.
So you start stepping in the code after the debugger catches it?
Yes, after the debugger. Yeah, that's the purpose. So it will stop over here, and then you can step into the next one.
Like if you know your code's good at post point.
Yes.
You put the debugger after.
Yep. 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 That's how you do it. And if it never reaches here, it's failing before that, so you know something is wrong with that. All right. All right. So take a look at this. I'm going to upload the solutions. Nick will quickly go over the homework for next week. It's the Spotify API, and then I will see you guys on Thursday. Let me.